Hello everyone. So with this video, I will take you through another set of interesting functions available within Excel. So let's start. The first one is the grouping and ungrouping of data. So if you can see here, every client, we have the monthly revenues here, Jan, Feb and March, and there is a total for a quarter. Thereafter, we have April, May, and June, and the total for a quarter. And thereby, the half yearly revenue for a particular client is the quarter 1 plus the quarter 2. Now, since the data here is only for 2 quarters, however, in the practical situation, you might have much longer data for 12 months together, or maybe for 24 months, or maybe for 36 months, depending on how bigger data you would have. Let's say if you will have year 1, year 2, and year 3, 3 different years of data, so that means you will have 36 different columns, and thereby you will, in between, you will have a quarter or a half yearly or an annual number. So with that, your Excel sheet will be much bigger. It will be with, it will carry so many number of columns, so it becomes difficult to view at a point of time. So this grouping and ungrouping feature will give you an option to quickly compress the number of columns which you can view here. So if we can start here, for grouping or ungrouping, what you need to do is you just need to select. So let's say if you just want to view on your screen, or if you would like to show to your line manager only the quarter 1, quarter 2 and the half yearly numbers, in that case you have an option to hide these columns, this one, the ones which are colored with blue. However, that will increase your work, because every time if you would want to see the breakdown for a particular quarter, a number, let's say 460,000, every time you'll have to unhide those columns. So instead of hiding and unhiding, we can use a feature called grouping and ungrouping, which is easily available in Excel, and very easy. So for grouping, you just need to select these 3 columns, January, February and March. So go to the data ribbon, and there is an option called group here. If you can see the group option, which is already there within data ribbon. So the moment you click on group, it automatically creates a layer here, the layer 1 and the layer 2 it becomes. So that means if you click on the minus sign here above column F, if you can notice here, if you click on that negative sign, it will automatically become a positive sign, and it will only show you the revenues for a quarter. Same thing we can do for these 3 months as well, as we want to view only the quarter 2 and the half year. We can click on grouping, and it automatically views only the amount of the number of columns which we want to view. Let's say if you want to, so if you click on plus, it will expand. If you click on negative, it will compress again. And there is also an option to expand all the pluses together by clicking on layer 2, because your layer 1 is your compressed data and your layer 2 is your expanded data. The second feature is a pivot, which is very useful in case of analysis of a data, and data crunching and data summarizing becomes quite easy with the use of pivot. Pivot also has an option, an easy quick option, which is Alt plus DPS. So let's start with pivot. So for pivot, let's say you have a data by client, by month, your revenue. So if you can notice here, the January data is until here, and then thereafter you have the data in such a manner that you have by client, by month data. But here you would like to see, let's say, Zoom's revenue, the revenue with the client Zoom for all 6 months together, and not by month. So instead of doing it manually, we can simply make use of the feature which is pivot, which will summarize your monthly revenue into the total revenue by client. For that, you just need to select the table, but bear in mind that you are not supposed to select the total rows if there is any at the end of the table. So the moment you select the table, since as I said, the option for pivot, the quick option for pivot is Alt plus DPS, just select the table and on the keyboard just select Alt DPS. It will automatically open this pivot table and pivot chart wizard for you to create a particular pivot. On this window, you need to click on next, and since you had already selected the table, it will take the range on its own. Click on next. Here you have an option to keep your pivot in the new worksheet, or you can actually create your pivot in the same existing worksheet as well. Here I would select existing worksheet. If you're selecting existing worksheet, it will ask you the cell from which you want to start creating the pivot. So let's say I would now select a particular cell here. So in existing worksheet, the pivot table will create here. After selecting one particular cell, you just click on finish. The moment you click on finish, it will give you an option for dragging the fields into either filters or columns or rows or values. So let's say if you want to visualize the data by clients on the column and the total of the revenue in one particular column. So let's say if we select client, so if we want to visualize clients by rows and revenues into the sum values, so it will automatically create the sum of the revenue for a particular client. Let's say if you want to visualize this by months, so you can drag months to columns and it will give you an option to visualize it very easily. The third option I will take you through is insert slicer. Insert slicer is nothing but the slicer of this particular pivot table. So let's say if you have a pivot table here, copying the the pivot here, and let's say you don't have, so here since we do not have field list shown here, we would need to click on that for us to make any sort of a modification. So let's say if we've not selected a month here, if we remove a field here, it will only give you by client and the total of the revenue. Insert slicer function will be something of that another filter option being given on the pivot chart, which is quite interesting to visualize. So you remain on pivot, click on insert, and there is an option of slicer. If you click on slicer, it will give you an option by which particular field you want to slice the data. So let's say by client we already have it, revenues we already have it. It's just that by months we don't have a slicer or we don't have a filter option. So if you click on month for a slicer and click OK, so it will give you an easy option to create by month. So let's say if you click on April, it will give you only the April revenue. If you click on February, it will give you February revenue. And you can also select multiple. Let's say if you want to select the first quarter, so you can select and press Ctrl, and you can then select those months, Jan, Feb and March. for a particular quarter. So this gives you a quarter revenue, which is exactly same as the first sheet which we had seen here. So insert slicer gives you various different options. We can also visualize this differently. Let's say you do not have a client here, but you have months here, let's say. So you already have months here, January, February and March. You can and you would have, so let's say if you want to create slicer by pivots, slicer by clients. So insert slicer. Now clicking on client would make more sense because now you would want to see by client. So if you want to see only for Amazon, you would be seeing the values only for Amazon, you would be seeing for Flipkart, and as you move forward with a particular selection or a multiple selection, you would be able to see the revenues in such a manner. Now the fourth one, very useful, which is transpose. So let's say if you have data in such a manner, by clients here and by months here, but there would be a situation where you would want figures by months on the left side and on the columns for clients. So let's say if you want to visualize this differently, so you select this table, copy it, and click on ESP for base special. It will open up this particular window, and over here you would have an option for transpose. So first of all, there could be various different formulas being used in this particular table. So first you will have to select values, and you also click on transpose. The moment you click on both the values as well as transpose here and click on OK, it will automatically give you the table in a manner in which you required it, like by clients here and by months on this side. So transpose feature can give you a different sort of a visualization. Now we would move for a feature called concate. Now concate is a formula which will be able to combine various different data in one particular column. So let's say if you want to create, so if you have data in such a manner that you have your number here, you have numbers here and numbers here as well, but you want to combine these numbers. So easy way is to use a concate formula. Begin the bracket, select this and end the bracket, and it will automatically give you a combination of the entire number. For concate, you can also make use of in a different way. Even end function will also do a similar kind of, will give you a similar result. So let's say if you're selecting a particular cell, then you type ampersand, then click on a cell, then type ampersand again and click on third information. So if you do that, that will also give you similar result. But using concate will be even more useful in case if you have another set of information in between. Let's say if you have another information, let's say XY or PQ or TV and YY and QE. So it will, as you can see, since concate had a particular range being selected, it will automatically understand to combine that particular content as well. However, ampersand will not understand because it had a specific selection. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, share this video and subscribe the channel. You can also subscribe the channel by scanning this particular QR code. Thank you very much.